compute is getting pretty cheap, and this is one example of that. This is the Mini S series mini PC. This one's from Beelink, but you could find many mini PCs like this, and I got this particular one for $160 on Amazon, delivered to the door. So it's pretty cheap for what you can do with it. This particular model has a quad-core processor and a little VESA mount on the back. You could slap it on your monitor and have an all-in-one. In this video, I want to take a look at what comes with it, what it could be used for, and then we'll take a look inside and see if it's upgradable, what kind of things you can actually change about it. I have a feeling there's not much you can do with it. Once you get it, it's what you got. But if you could upgrade the RAM, upgrade the storage, you may be able to extend the life of a product like this. All right, let's take a look at what's inside of the box. So this is the PC itself. As you can see, it's pretty small, about palm-sized. And I already opened this, so this is the actual static wrap that it comes in. And it comes with, here's your one HDMI cable, power cord, the second HDMI cable, and then a little bracket so that you can mount it to your monitor with some screws. So that's all that comes in the box. And what I want to do next is take a look at what's inside of here. It looks like there's just 4 screws on the bottom, so let's see if we can get into it. Okay, it looks like this tab is actually so you can open it. I thought it might have been like an antenna or something weird, but it's just a little rubber tab. And it actually looks like, this is kind of cool, I didn't notice this, but it has a space for a SATA drive that you can put in here. This is probably just a normal 2.5-inch SATA drive, and I don't know where it would, actually it must be inside of there, and if you look down at the bottom, there's your SATA plug and SATA power. So it looks like you can actually just put a 2.5-inch SATA drive in here as an upgrade yourself. It looks like it does have just one single RAM slot, so you're going to be unable to upgrade beyond the one slot. You're stuck to a single channel RAM. Looks like just pretty generic stuff. And the solid state drive here also looks very generic as well. Looks like it's a SATA drive, so you're not going to be upgrading that to NVMe or anything. One additional thing I want to mention too is it looks like that the actual M.2 slot, it says SATA 3, but it's keyed for NVMe using a SATA drive. So I do wonder if a NVMe drive would actually work in here. It's possible that the chipset doesn't support it and then they just used this connector because it was cheaper. But as you can see, the normal SATA keying has these 2 notches, and this only has the 1 notch, which is for NVMe. So this is completely unbranded. I have no idea who produces that drive. So it looks like you've got your little wireless card in here. That's not abnormal to have these little pins. That's like almost the same as what's in a laptop, but they glued them down, which I guess is okay because that could be an issue if those come unplugged. Other than that though, this is just basic PCB layout. This is the bottom side of it, so let's see if we can go even deeper. All right. Okay, looks like once it's up, those screws just come out, and the antenna's on that side, so they're just mounted to the bottom of it there, and I lost the little button. And I'm not going to pull the heatsink off, just so I don't have to worry about repasting it, but it looks like it only has maybe 2-phase VRM, 4-phase VRM, 2 probably for the GPU and 2 for the CPU. And it's a very basic setup. It's just that one little heatsink, and the processor is going to be underneath there. This is the power for the fan, CMOS battery, and that's it. There's not really much to this. I'm going to go ahead and get this put back together, and then we'll see you in the next section. All right, let's turn it on and see what the first boot looks like. So it looks like the initial boot is just going to be setting up Windows and going through the normal setup process for a Windows machine. Since I haven't set this up yet, I'll go ahead and skip that section. So this is running on the Beelink mini PC. One of my favorite games I wanted to try, just as always with emulation, if you own the game and you rip it yourself, it's okay, but just make sure that you're not pirating and things like that that you should say on YouTube. If you're not familiar, I'm using Hygen. It's a emulation software that runs a bunch of different systems, and its main focus is accuracy. So it should run similar to how the original software ran. So far it seems to be running okay. I haven't noticed any weird visual glitches or anything. And I think when you think about the kind of things you could do with a Super Nintendo emulator, it's basically going to be fine on any hardware that's relatively modern. Just trying to get past this. I think you have to get to 29 health. It seems to be running perfectly fine though. I'll just go through the rest of this initial sequence to make sure it's not doing anything weird, but I think it's running completely fine. I'll look at CPU performance here in a second. Let's see what CPU looks like while it's running. Hygen here is using, 30% of the CPU, so it's not unreasonable that it could be an issue if you have a more demanding game or different types of emulators running. But I think for Super Nintendo and things like this, regular Nintendo, probably anything on the Atari, MAME, those types of systems will have no issue running those emulators with this kind of PC. And it seems to run without issue. So I got CPU usage over there. So about 40 to 50% while just normal playing. Okay, so we'll go ahead and move on there. Also want to look at YouTube. So I know I have some 4K videos. I want to see how playback looks on those. So just let this run for a second and let's see if it drops any frames. It is dropping a few frames here every once in a while, 98 out of 2000. So it's not perfect for playing 4K video. Doesn't look like anything I can notice, but especially when the computer's doing something like maximizing, it looks like you may lose some frames. So that kind of gives you an idea. 4K videos will play. It looks like you can scrub through them relatively quickly. This is limited by the buffer right now, so I haven't buffered this video, but it seems to be handling it okay. It can certainly play them, but I am dropping a few frames from what YouTube is telling me here. All right, so those are my thoughts on the Beelink Mini S Series PC. In general, I think it's relatively inexpensive considering you get a copy of Windows that comes with it, but I wouldn't spend much more on anything greater than 8 GB of RAM or 256 storage. Of course, if you have a use case where you specifically need more RAM or more storage, if you run a lot of Chrome tabs or you want to store files on it, that's perfectly fine. But for what I think this is useful for, you should get the absolute cheapest thing you can. That way you can offload some of those tasks. Say if you have your gaming rig on the side and you want to run your second monitor on a separate PC, and maybe use Input Director or something to pass your mouse and keyboard inputs across. You can do something like that and have your stream or YouTube videos or guidebook or whatever you're running on a separate PC completely separate so you can optimize your performance on your main PC. I think that's probably the main use case. Otherwise, you can use it for network attached storage. You can use it as an emulation box in the living room. Or you can make an all-in-one, just basic desktop browsing PC in, your living space, where you just want something that you can use quickly. You leave it on all the time because it's low power. Anyway, those are my thoughts on the Beelink PC. If you're using it for those types of things, I would recommend it. If you're trying to game, I would not recommend it. If you like this kind of content, let me know down in the comments and we can look at more products from Amazon like this that may have uses. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.